About a year ago, there were encampments on college campuses all across the United States that were bearing witness to the horrific loss of life in Palestine. There was one here in Milwaukee at UWM, and there were around 140 encampments, walkouts, and protests all across the country. At the encampment at Emory University, the university president called in the Atlanta Police Department and the Georgia State Patrol, who violently broke up that encampment. Students and professors were tear gassed, and they were pepper sprayed, they were even tased. 28 people were arrested there, including an economics professor and, of course, the chair of the philosophy department. The Atlanta Police Department and Georgia State Patrol's violence was perhaps the most extreme reaction in the country to these peaceful student protests. Emory's president used the traditional excuse that the protesters were outside agitators, not Emory students, though eyewitness and video accounts all documented Emory students and professors being attacked and arrested. One of these videos went viral. In it, a protester is being carried off to jail by 3 police officers. The young black woman who's under arrest for nonviolently resisting systems of injustice is singing the gospel song, "This Joy That I Have," while she's being carried away. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. The gospel song by Shirley Chisholm was a staple of the civil rights movement. It sings out in defiance of tyranny and oppression, of racism and systems of violence. Joy, feeling it, dropping deep into it, is resistance. In this painful world, to dig deeply into joy, to experience pleasure in our bodies, to celebrate beauty and wonder in the world, even in the midst of very real suffering, to sing, to literally sing in the face of oppression is powerful resistance to forces that want to squash us and control us. A month ago, I was with several queer and trans friends drinking in the sun at a winery when we heard the news that a black trans man from Minnesota, Sam Norquist, had been murdered in New York. We sucked in our breath. We said his name. We said a prayer for him. We held on to one another. There were tears, and we sat in silence for a bit, just breathing. And in that silence, there was a bird singing. And there was still the sun that was shining on our skin, and the wine on the table. There were chips. There were friends, and there was a bird singing in the quiet. I looked at my friends, and I raised a glass of wine, and I said, "To trans joy." And we all raised our glasses, and we nodded, and we chose to keep going. We chose an afternoon of pleasure in defiance of the horror. We decided to be present and live in the moment. We played bags, and some of you will tell me that this game is called cornhole. And you will be wrong. And we spun in circles, and we tossed a ball for a dog, and we walked through the vineyards, and we climbed on an old truck and took an album cover photo. We held on to one another, and to the sun and to the moment and to the beauty, and we sucked in the joy of living. The National Museum of African American History and Culture quotes Cleaver Cruz, who is the founder of the Black Joy Project, who said, quote, "Black joy is not dismissing or creating an alternate Black narrative that ignores the realities of our collective pain. Rather, it is about holding the pain and injustice in tension with the joy that we experience. It's about using that joy as an entry into understanding the oppressive forces we navigate through, as a means to imagine and create a world free of them. Using joy as an entry into understanding the oppressive forces we navigate through, as a means to imagine and create a world without them. Joy helps us understand what oppression does. Oppression squashes our spirits. It leaves us dissociated from our bodies, unable to process or be present to the lives that we're living right now. Joy resists that by helping us live in the beauty and in the love and in the celebration that we can create between us. It also helps us imagine a future that is free from that oppression. The joy of right now, the feeling of elation and connection and hope and love in our bodies, it tells us what the future could be like. It tells us what a world of liberation could feel like. And then that joy fuels our resistance and offers its knowing as a compass for where we want to go together. The museum article expounds further. Black joy is an affirmation and an action that claims control where we can. It's not escapism or a way of avoiding reality. It's an active acknowledgement that your reaction to even the most horrific encounter resides within you and not in someone else. Whew. That one's a tough one, but it is also liberatory. Every feeling that we have, each one of us, joy, pain, hope, horror, every feeling comes from within. Our work is to both be present to the reality of the world while also owning our internal reactions to it and taking responsibility for our feelings. We cannot control what is happening in the world all the time. We can exert our power. We'll talk about that later. But we can control our inner being, what happens inside of us. That's ours. That's our business and our work and our mind. Archbishop Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama wrote a book together. It's called The Book of Joy. In it, they counsel us mere mortals to cultivate joy internally, regardless of the external circumstances. Both of these men have experienced extreme hardship. The Dalai Lama was exiled from his home, and Archbishop Tutu was the target of South African apartheid oppression. And yet, to witness the two of them together is to witness absolute joy in life. When they're together, they giggle. They dance, they chuck each other on the chin and tease each other, and they laugh. In one interview, the interviewer says to them, "So there is this question of how you think about your own death. And in response to that question, both men start giggling. Well, Archbishop Tutu says, he doesn't mind too much because there is the reincarnation. And then they both burst out laughing at this religious death joke. To watch them together is to know that they live inside of the joy of their own spiritual practices. They teach others that spiritual practice is a tool all human beings can use to build an inner temple of joy, despite the pain and oppression and loss that is inherent in the world. We are in a painful moment here in our nation's history. It's frightening and it's cruel. We've seen international students who are lawful residents of the United States be kidnapped by unmarked federal agents without due process, without even any charges. The Tufts student, Rumeysa Ozturk, was apparently kidnapped because she wrote an op-ed in the student newspaper. Several other international students have been similarly abducted. Dear ones, we are fighting fascism right now. But I want us to remember that this is not the first terribly painful moment in our nation's history. Other generations have faced horror, and other nations around the world have faced and fought fascism. Desmond Tutu faced and fought apartheid, and he came out of that laughing. In his battles in South Africa, Archbishop Tutu cultivated inner spiritual strength. He drew on powers stronger than the forces of evil in this world. The battle that we are in now, it requires spiritual tools. Tools of resilience, tools of strength, tools of joy. It requires singing. It requires spiritual practice. It requires cultivating our attention and focusing on moments of wonder and beauty and love and joy. It requires us paying attention and trusting a love that is larger than this or any individual moment, larger than this or any finite circumstance. The spiritual strength within us, the strength of love and relationship between us, and our commitment to the love that is larger than us, larger than all of us or this moment, the love that holds all, that holds Rumeysa Ozturk and Sam Nordquist and Archbishop Tutu and the Dalai Lama and every one of us in this church and Susan Crawford, that holds the thousands, yes, that holds the thousands of people who showed up yesterday with joy and love on the streets. The love that holds our ancestors and our descendants and each of our individual selves that are becoming, that holds unfolding life and the regeneration of lives past, that power, that love that is so much bigger than the finite evil trying to take hold. The power of love, it nurtures us and holds us and drives us forward. In these moments of cruelty and pain and loss, we must remember that that love is so much larger than finite human error. It is so much greater than stupid, small-minded cruelty, and it is more powerful even than the weapons that they hold against us as they carry us away singing. For in the end, what we have, it's each other. We have the joy and the love in our hearts that beat beyond this very moment, the love that carries us on beyond our temporary bodies. We have the faces of our beloveds and the world of mutual thriving that all of our joy and our resistance and our hope is helping to build. We can use this joy as our compass to that liberated future when all of this temporary matter fades, and we can trust that the love that is larger than us will be there waiting. Eventually, in that interview with the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Tutu, after much banter and playful teasing, the Dalai Lama finally answers the question. And he says of Archbishop Tutu, "I really love him because he is always teasing me, and I tease him, and so we become quite something. Something special." Yes, Archbishop Tutu agrees. And also, the Dalai Lama continues, his face, this picture, this very special picture, I think at the time of my death, I will remember you. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Amen.